Welcome to the College Admission TV Higher Education Podcast. We sit down with passionate leaders in education for their thoughts and insights in today's world. We are excited to have as our guest Dr. Jeff Abernathy, president of Alma College in Alma, Missouri.
I did want to start off with, I think congratulations are in order to you and the football team for winning your second straight conference title. Is that correct?
Well, we're not counting the chicken, Joe. Yes, we are co-champions, but this week we face our arch rival, Albion, and if we win that one, we will be outright champions. In either case, we're going to the playoffs. We're excited. Got a
Excellent. That's great.
Jason Couch is our coach. He's a 98 grad. He was center on that team, and he won his first title last year, and I'm looking for many more from him.
Excellent. That's great. What type of an impact does that have? You know, when you have a flagship sport like football, what impact does that have on the community, on the college, and maybe even new recruits, student athletes, and students?
The impact is enormous, and you wouldn't think so at D3. Like, oh, come on, it's they're there to play, but these students are passionate about the game. Students across campus are passionate about the game. We're getting community members engaged. I think we won one homecoming game my first 10 years or so. So we were struggling a little bit. Coach Couch has them in a very different position, of course, 10-0 last year and 9-0 right now, and looking for 10-0. And it changes everything. It just, lifts all boats. It's the beginning of the year. It's the big sport, the marquee sport. And I think it gives everyone a pride in Alma College. Our student athletes, who are about 60% to 65% of our student body every single year. But everyone else says as well. Alumni are charged up. Stands are filled every game. It's truly a game changer for the college.
Now, you had mentioned your tenure being roughly 10 years. Is that correct?
14 years now.
14 years now. Oh my goodness, I shortchanged you. 14 years. Well, I'll tell you something. I don't have to tell you. It's a hard job to be able to be in a position where you've been there 14 years is incredibly commendable. Let me ask you, over that 14-year span, what's been the biggest surprise for you?
Well, certainly early on, one of the surprises was the importance of athletics. I'm an academic. I'm an English professor, and came to this role through the provost's job at Augustana College, where I had next to no contact with athletics. Just didn't interact very much. And I noticed from week one at Alma College, boy, I got board members flying in to talk to me about athletics. I've got an athletics task force to consider what sports we should add. That very year, we added women's bowling, cheer, and lacrosse, men's and women's. And we did so for the obvious reason. It's going to bring students to Alma College. These are great sports, but students who want a great education also want to be able to continue in their sport. And so that has simply continued. I mean, back then we were, 45% of our student body. But nowadays, this is where we are. Our culture is one of the student athlete. We're very proud of that. We've got amazing facilities that we've been able to build because of the success we've had, and our alumni who are passionate about supporting it. And I expect that to continue. Now we've got great programs on the more academic side. So Model UN is one example. Our Model UN is the best in the world. They have been to I think 25, 26. I can't even count international conferences, and every year they come back with a top designation. No other school in the world has done that. I'm really proud of Dr. Sandy Helm and his Model UN program. So balancing that out, yes, sports are important, but we also want to recognize that a lot of students come in for these kinds of programs as well.
Absolutely. Well, so let's talk a little bit about your personal journey. Can you share who were the mentors that helped shape you on your path to becoming the president at Alma College?
Well, I mean, my oldest mentor, certainly in my academic life, is was John Seeley, my Dr. Fatar and dissertation director. Just an amazing author, scholar, and teacher. And I knew him and worked with him at the University of Florida, and he certainly guided me. Now, Dr. Seeley was not particularly happy that I went into administrative work full time because that did not much resemble the world he knew. But for me, my first boss as an administrator, Fred Oles, who was at Illinois. We worked together at Illinois College, where he was the dean of the college. He went on to be for 14 years the president of Nebraska Wesleyan. He was a guide throughout my years. My most important in certainly coming to the presidency was Steve Bowles. Steve was a great friend. He was 17 years president at Augustana College. Hired me his first year, and it was amazing to learn from Steve. He had a transformative presidency there, and all of us aim for that.
Well, excellent. So, are you still able, or do you still give a number of campus tours with prospective students and families?
I see him all the time. My students would be more expert at giving that tour than I would, and they can walk backwards, and I'm not sure I can do that anymore. But what I do is stop on those tours and talk to those families, and stop by practice where families are visiting, and let them know, what Alma's all about. I mean, we use the phrase the Alma family, and it really is a feel. It has that feel here. We're 1,300 students on the undergraduate side, growing graduate population, but it just has that feel. We know our students from the time they arrive. We see them in multiple classes. By the time they come to graduation, we have a relationship with them. We know them all. We want to convey that to all of our visiting students. And I think they get a really strong sense of that. We've got an amazing admissions operation. But in the end, especially in these challenging days, admissions is an operation of, that everyone's involved in across the campus, whether it's, me or grounds crew or anybody else, being welcoming, being friendly, helping students to see that they could have a home here is what we try to do.
So what's the number one question that you get from parents?
Oh, well, so, for parents and students alike these days, what's this going to lead to? There is a clear interest in career that was, not there 15 years ago. We've got to be better than we ever have been at demonstrating outcomes of an Alma education. And those outcomes are rich and nuanced and vary, and they impact the student's life well beyond career. But we better be on our game and talking about, the career possibilities flowing from an English major, from a biology major, from a psychology major, from any major at Alma College. And so we are working very hard to make sure that that career conversation is a part of every curriculum, and that we've got those ready answers to point to the success stories, and to demonstrate how strong we are in pre-law, pre-med, these traditional programs that have been great strengths for Alma College. That's where students and parents are living. And we have to help them see that a liberal arts education is going to prepare them for a great career. But it's not just about that first job or the second or the third. It's about the arc of one's career and the arc of one's life. We ask them that question, of course, what are you going to do in life? In myriad ways throughout their years at Alma College. But as I tell every single prospective parent and student, we're going to ask them those more important questions. Who are you and who do you want to be? And that's what's central to an Alma education.
Well, and oftentimes when I bring up words like diversity and inclusion, I also hear the word belonging. And I hear that, hey, without belonging, diversity and inclusion doesn't mean much. So can you speak to, you had mentioned the Alma family, can you talk about belonging and how staff and students really embrace each other so that you get to know each other and really and truly do feel like a family and can grow together?
We talk a lot about belonging with our prospective students now. Wear T-shirts at the beginning of the year. You belong here, and we say it so often. Perhaps they wonder if it's just a phrase at first, but they see it, they live it, they sense it very early on, because what they find is a community here to embrace them. The DEI conversation is one within that broader conversation. We want every student to feel that they belong here, and what we've done very intentionally over years is grow our diversity and our student body and our faculty and our staff, but quite intentionally and deliberately, and ensuring that we are supporting those students from diverse backgrounds as we welcome them. What I've seen across the country is too often schools will welcome a great number of students from diverse backgrounds, but they don't have the support for them that that they're going to need. And we've worked real hard to put that support in place. And my Vice President Damon Brown, who heads student affairs, has done great work in bringing the theme of belonging to Alma College.
So you were an English major.
Yes.
Did you plan on being a president?
Oh, no, farthest thing from my mind. No, and no intention whatsoever. My joke is, an English professor, by calling, by trade, and kind of a college president by accident. Now, just about every one of my colleagues with an academic background would say the same thing. But for me, I loved my work at Illinois College. Was passionate about teaching, about getting on to my next book, and I got the call to come be the associate dean after a long sabbatical in Virginia, where I was working on a couple of books, and I wasn't sure that I wanted to make that turn. My passion is the classroom, and working with students, and I knew this would take me out of that. But I soon came to see that doing this work at any level as a staff member, administrator, it means that you can solve the bigger challenges for an institution, and those challenges are real and they run deep. And you certainly the value of the work every single day at a college campus these days.
Well, and when you look at Alma College, I always want to be careful about saying the word small. A small college. I think it's an intimate setting, right, where students can feel like they know each other, and you get to know the students very well. But I also, I think there's a lot of power programmatically in what Alma offers. Can you talk a little bit about the partnership that you have in place with Ferris State, and what that means? And then just programmatically, how are you meeting students where they are?
Yeah, the old partnerships such as the one we have with Ferris State, the one we have with MSU, the ones we have across the state and beyond are so critical, because they sort of expand our footprint. They help students to see, okay, you're going to have this amazing experience at a small school, an intimate experience, an experience where you are known in every single major. You're going to be with your faculty in class after class. You'll get to know them. These are relationships that start here and last for a lifetime. That's not going to be true at the large institutions across the land. It just can't be, given the volume. But those relationships, those partnerships. Just today, we're striking one with Montcalm Community College that will bring students to Alma. The partnership with Ferris, with MSU. These are partnerships that send students to graduate programs, dental school, to pharmacy school, as that one, and are really, really critical. But it's been true through us since 1886 at Alma College that we attract students because they come here and they see their place in this community. They're concerned about community. They want to help to build community. So for us, that means giving them those opportunities right here. And we used to use the phrase the Alma bubble when I arrived, and I've done all I can to stamp out the use of that phrase because we're no kind of bubble, and we don't want to be. We want to engage the world, and an education begins right here in Alma, Michigan, and it extends around the globe. And so we've launched a Center for College and Community Engagement, 3CE we call it, that's focused on not just serving, but on engaging with this community, on partnering with this community to identify problems that, through the presence of Alma College students, faculty, and staff, we can help to solve, and building those partnerships, over years. Those kinds of opportunities our students are attracted to because they come here looking, for a home, for a community, for their place.
Well, and I imagine you're engaging alumni in ways that give back to alums, but also really help showcase and build the brand and get students excited. So what are the ways that you engage alumni today?
Oh my goodness! Well, in so very many ways, we have a program that's gotten nationwide recognition called Ambassadors, in which alumni initially they were simply connecting students to Alma College and getting them in our funnel, helping them to see the value of an Alma education. That program continues in that way, but we have other ways to become an ambassador. For instance, this year we've launched a program we're really excited about that will engage. It's essentially an alumni mentoring program, and so. All of our pre-law, a set for this year, it's a pilot of our pre-law students, of our pre-med students, of our LGBTQ plus students, and our business students will have the opportunity to work with an alum throughout the year and their years in college. They'll meet face-to-face at least once, twice a year, and then once a month do what we're doing here and get that chance to benefit from that relationship. We hope it'll lead to an internship, might lead to a job, might simply be, life guidance, life coaching and the like. But these are unique ways in which our alumni can give back. Alumni are deeply engaged in all sorts of ways. That is one example. Another similar example, our current board chair developed. It's called Plaid Returns. And in the month of May, we have a thing called Spring Term. And we brought, for 10 years, we brought back alumni to talk with students who are preparing to graduate. These are primarily business students, about what their careers are going to look like, and to tell the story of how for any of these folks, how I got to the C-suite from Alma College, because that journey is pretty unclear if you're 22 years old and just applying for your first jobs. So these are some of the ways that we've engaged our alums. They're excited to be a part. Obviously, I'm a fundraiser, right? So I ask them to write checks regularly, but we recognize for a lot of folks, those checks come after deep engagement of this sort.
Yeah, absolutely. And speaking of fundraising, what makes a successful fundraiser?
Oh, it's all about relationships, right? I mean, you've got to care about the folks you're working with. You've got to care about the institution. You've got to be able to communicate the message, the core values of the institution, reconnect folks who've maybe gotten distant from the institution. It's about relationships. There's a science to it. I couldn't tell you the first thing about science. I've got, there's an advancement office for that. They kind of tell me where to go. But the art of it is the art of relationship building. It's all about relationships, as most things in life. And what you're doing is traveling around the country, traveling around this state of Michigan, to connect folks, to steward folks who have given before, and to help them build a vision for what is to come. It's been remarkable how our alumni and our board in particular have responded. Alma, the record campaign was $37 million 20 years ago. Good campaign for Alma, but we knew as I came in 2010 that we needed to step it up, that we need to be running campaigns like Augustana College, like our aspirant group schools. And so we did. We ran a $125 million campaign that has transformed the campus, and our board, importantly, gave 43% of those dollars, and that's a percentage much higher than the average campaign would be able to report. But in the end, that's what it is. It's relationships, and it's obviously showing your own deep passion for the mission of the institution.
So, how do you make sure that students are engaged and don't go it alone? And especially I think when you look at freshmen, I just look at my path. I mean, I go in as a freshman, probably like a lot of students, and there's a lot you don't know. There's a lot you're nervous about. There's a lot that you're unsure about. How do you make sure that Alma is engaging those students to build that sense of comfort, and also make sure that these students persist?
Yeah, I'll give you a couple examples, because we've spent a lot of time working on this as we've engaged this belonging theme at Alma. It's a great story. So there was a student here in mid 1920s, came here in 1924. His name was Julius Chapman. And he was a football player, came from Detroit, and he was our first African-American student at Alma College. Now you can imagine, 1924, little town of Alma, Michigan. That was, a challenging environment for an African-American student to come. But he persisted. Had a great experience. He was voted all MIAA running back, for one of those years. Didn't graduate. But continued to talk to his family about his experience here, its challenges, but also the value of higher education. His family was incredibly successful. They're spread out across the country. Every one of them went to college and university. They got doctors, lawyers, great success, and they all point back to Julius Chapman. And they came to me. They'd come to college before me, and they sort of asked, "Hey, could we find a way to recognize the challenges that he experienced here and to honor the work that he did here and his presence as our first African American student?" Long way of saying, we found that way. We gave him an honorary degree that his daughter accepted, Julia accepted, and we also started, finally, to your question, a thing called the Julius Chapman Living Learning Community. And so this brings in diverse students, 25 in number or so, to one of our halls, and they are all living together. These are, students from, all around the country, but from almost all of them diverse backgrounds. So they have that opportunity to build a cohort, to engage with one another. They're all taking a class together with our amazing Dr. John Glenn, who heads up our multicultural center, and the retention of these students is remarkable. I'd say in the 90s last year, which is higher by a lot than the average for our college. Another example, last year we determined that if we can't do all things in retention, because that's what colleges typically try to do. Well, let's get a report and there's 5 million things we need to do. Let's do all of them. Well, you're not going to do 5 million things. You need to choose those things, make priorities, set goals. And so last year we said several areas were going to be priority, but one of them was African-American young men. And, let's make sure that because those numbers were lower than we would like, lower than the average. And we focused there, spent a lot of resources there, worked on every single team, had somebody on the athletic side supporting those students. We had 100% retention of our African-American football players last year. So that's relatively small numbers, 15 who are just freshmen. But to keep them all, there's not many colleges in the country, that could say that. And we're really, really proud of that work, and that work continues. So you've got to set your priorities. You've got to recognize you can't do all things. And for us, these have been important means of ensuring that all of our students feel they belong. The living learning community now has expanded. We have multiple living learning communities functioning in that same way.
Mm-hmm. So, what was I'm sure you remember kind of the when and where when Alma announced that you were the president. Where were you, and what was that feeling like?
It's very funny. Because I do know. I was at an Augustana College board meeting in Chicago at University Club, and I was in the president's bar. It was morning. The bar was empty, and I took the call, not from Alma. I had a few offers at that time, but I knew at that time I was going to be a college president, but I wanted to be at Alma. And the next week that call came, and I never looked back. And I love the mission of this place. I knew many faculty. We had worked together in a small consortium. Knew the provost very well. He's a good friend, and I just wanted to be here to ensure success for this institution for the generations to come. And that's still the work, and we've still got work to do to get to thriving. But couldn't be more excited about the next 4 years and what they hold.
So what are a couple of the keep you up at night things that you think about?
Well, look, I mean, they all have to do with enrollment. You won't be surprised, right? And that's numbers 1, 2, 3, 4 on our priority. period, and always going to be. This is not going to change. This is, I've said to the faculty on Friday, this is probably the greatest period of challenge, greatest challenge in our history, and the demographic decline that we are now facing. Michigan and the upper Midwest states are facing it. The Northeast is facing it, but it's coming to the whole country where the birth rate is not what it needs to be. So there's going to be fewer students graduating high school. We're not letting immigrants come to the country in the numbers I think we should be in any case. So the population is declining. The number of college students going to college is declining. That will continue. So enrollment's going to, this is our work. And it's our work for the decades to come. And so we have to think differently about how we approach that question. So the specifics, how do we continue to bring vitality to an undergraduate program such that it is growing and not shrinking? And on the graduate side, which is new for us, how do we develop opportunities to bring graduate students? They're not going to move to Alma, Michigan for 2 years and do a master's here. We're not looking at that. But how can we create programs, low residency graduate programs, that will be innovative, that will build on strength, that will build the reputation of the institution, and of course, very importantly, that will bring students from across the country and beyond.
Now, you've written books.
Yep.
Right. What's the most exciting part about writing a book? When you're going through the process, is there something you can point to and go, gosh, that's the part I love?
The part I really loved was seeing the book in a box on my desk at West Virginia Wesleyan College when it was done. That's my former dissertation developed into a book. So that was really it. Now starting the work on the 150th anniversary of Alma College, and that's going to be a joy because it's going to bring together the entire community to tell the stories of Alma over the last 40 and 50 years, and then reach back to the histories we have and to those who were here from longer ago to tell that story. I'm just at the start of that one, but very excited about what that might and will become.
Well, and I love the resiliency of Alma College. Just the history and because to your point, you hear about the enrollment cliff and you hear about high discount rates, and oh my goodness, the sky is falling in many instances, especially on private and smaller institutions, and so. I love hearing stories about resilience because, you have been able to face the pandemic, but you've also been able to face many wars and well beyond. So can you speak a little bit to the resiliency of Alma?
Well, taking COVID in particular, it was our faculty and staff. They turned on a dime, did our faculty, to offer these classes. Now, this happened on every campus across the country, but I was just, amazed that our faculty have had no experience with online, like zero. All of a sudden, within a week, we're teaching online and we're maintaining our commitment to the quality of an Alma education. That was just truly remarkable, and it brought us skills that will be important for the future. We're not going to be an online institution on the undergraduate level, although we may have some programs that we offer. But I think we recognized in that time that, look, especially sort of the rote component of classes where you're just building basic knowledge of content matter, some of that can be done in a different environment, allowing us to use the classroom for what we do best, which is hands-on learning, experiential learning, engaging students, with that content, the class content, but helping them to connect it beyond the classes as well. So I think our resiliency comes from our amazing faculty here at Alma College, from amazing staff, for all the challenges of those years. Obviously, medical and health-wise, but the financial challenges that came, they stuck with it, continued to push to, get on that path to thriving, in spite of the enormous challenges that we faced. We are very, very clear about who we are at Alma College. Our mission is clear to all, and the passion for that mission, and we're delivering it every single day, is what you'd see talking to any faculty member here at Alma College, any staff member, and we bring amazing students as a result of that, and they do great work here and go on to do great things in the world.
So as you look forward, the future of Alma College, and you can take the years that you want, 5, 10, 14, But what does the next 5 years look like? 10 years? What does that look like for Alma College?
Well, I think for us, certainly in many small colleges, many colleges, it's stabilizing in an environment which is quite chaotic for all of higher education. Our faculty certainly feel that the pressure today. Our faculty and staff, every faculty and staff do across the land. We had 2 smaller classes post COVID, and so we're working through that. That brings us financial challenges. With our board, our administration, faculty and staff, we're all working through what those challenges mean and working to get past them so that we are back to where we have been with classes. And this year we got right back there, and that needs to continue. So I think first stabilizing, and then building on the bold vision that we have, and executing on the bold vision that we have to be a different kind of college, always to deliver our mission, always to retain the core values of our institution. But at the same time, we can't be what we have always been. And that means, and this was a hard conversation for faculty, adding graduate programs, because that's a market, that is growing across the country. And if we can identify those programs that do those 3 things I mentioned, then we can be successful. And we're starting to see that now. Our graduate programs are already delivering substantial funds to the core institution, to the core liberal arts college. And that's always been the objective. That's why we're doing graduate programs, because we can build quality programs and support the core liberal arts college. But, execute as well on our strategies in international. We have to be a more international institution than we are today. And we are today at record levels. That needs to continue. And so brokering partnerships across the world. We've got now agency arrangements in myriad number of countries. That is exciting to see as we grow more international. And then likewise, building a transfer pathway that smooths that path for that student who chooses to go to a community college, for example. Traditional liberal arts colleges have not been good at that. We tend to sort of take those who find us rather than go out to build partnerships at their institutions that will help them to find us. We've got to be innovative every single day. We've got, at the departmental level and what we're offering and the curricula that we're developing, and in the profile. Gratiot County, our county, has no community college. That's a challenge. We have the presence of other community colleges here, but we need to partner to serve this broader community in ways that we never have. Because here we are, and this community needs us. So that might mean, teaching in areas that we never had before, or partnering, for example, with a local corporation that has 500 students in a welding school. Well, we're not going to teach welding at Alma College probably, but we could partner with them. And frankly, some number of our students might find that, a good certificate to have. So we're just really trying to be innovative in our thinking.
Well, excellent. Well, Dr. Jeff Abernathy, thank you so much for your time today and sharing your thoughts. I really enjoyed the conversation.
Likewise. Thanks for your time, Bradley. I'm grateful for this opportunity, and wish you well.
Thank you.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of the College Admission TV Presidential Podcast. Stay tuned for our next episode, where we'll bring you another insightful conversation with a distinguished leader in higher education.